Do all Marshall style amps sound the same, or can there be big differences in the tone and feel between different models? Well, today we're going to put four Marshall amps side by side and compare them using captures made on the new ToneX version 2 tone model engine. Let's take a look at what amps we're going to be using and get right to it. So the amps in question being used today are going to be my Marshall Studio JTM, which is basically a newer, smaller recreation of one of the first Marshall amps, the JTM-45. I'm also going to be using my incredible hand-wired Marshall 1974X, a little more vintage-inspired amp there. Then moving on into the more modern times, let's call them, and I'm going to be using my JCM800 Studio Classic, which again is kind of a smaller recreation in this studio series of some of Marshall's more classic amps like the JCM800. Finally, I'm going to be showcasing my incredible Marshall 2555X Silver Jubilee reissue. All killer amps, so let's dive in and see how they compare to one another. All right, so as you can see here, I have all these collections kind of lumped together into this one folder, and I have my Brit 45 DC. So DC is going to stand for double cream, which means it's been captured through this incredible 212 rev amplification G12H75 cream back loaded cabinet. And you'll notice that the Brit 800 is captured through that cab, as well as the Brit Silver. The only difference here as far as speaker cab goes is going to be the Marshall 1974X, which was captured through the combos built in what they call aged Celestian Heritage Greenback G12M20. So some really cool pairings with the amps and the speakers. So back to the Brit 45, that's going to be the Marshall Studio JTM. The Brit 800 is going to be the Marshall JCM800 Studio Classic. The Brit Silver, I think, is pretty obviously going to be the 2555X Silver Jubilee. And the Mars 74X is going to be based off of the Marshall 1974X. Just a quick word about these amps. Obviously, I think the Brit 45 and the Mars 74X are going to be the most similar to each other, whereas the JCM 800, the Brit 800, and the Brit Silver are going to be a little more similar, right? The 800 and the Brit Silver are going to be a little more modern, whereas the Brit 45 and the Mars 74X are going to be a little bit more vintage vibe to them. So let's run through these. So basically the naming convention you can see here is I usually have the number of where I've set the volume control. So 10, on the Brit 45 is going to be the volume maxed out. Same here on the 1974X, the Brit Silver, and the 800. H is usually going to mean that I've plugged into the high input, and L is going to be the low input. 1 or 2 in brackets on the amps that have it are going to be the first channel or second channel. So sometimes those are going to be like a little brighter versus darker, right? So starting here on the higher gain settings, let's just look at some of these opened up wide. We'll go on channel 1 on the Brit 45. Play my Gibson Les Paul Standard 60s. You can hear there that amp has beautiful drive when it's wide open, but not really a super high gain monster. Let's compare that over to the 1974X on its same first channel on 10. Now this is going to be through a greenback speaker. So a very different vibe going on there. Go to the second channel. Second channel over here. I'm a really big fan of that 1974X amplifier. Really, really beautiful stuff. Let's go to the lower gain settings here. Maybe to volume on 2. Doesn't really get super low gain unless we go down to the low input. Compare that to the 45. see here that the 74X is capable of more gain. Volume level of 6 on the Brit 45. It's a lot lower gain than, let's say, 6 on the 74X. Really went for a cool, warm vintage vibe on the Mars 74X, whereas here, dialed it in with a little bit more bite. It's a really beautiful complementary collections. Now let's move to the more modern set tones here, the Brit 800 on the highest gain. Now moving on to the lead channel on the Brit Silver. Now you'll notice here it says 10C and 10. This C is telling us that the pull clip knob was engaged. We'll take the clip off. Pretty subtle at that higher gain sound. Back to the 800. So really different, nice complementary tones there. Let's go to lower gain setting on the lead channel here with the clip engaged on the Silver. Take the clip off. Comparing that to there on the 800. Now the Brit Silver is neat because it has the rhythm channel as well. That's the rhythm channel wide open. Then engage that clip. It's a lot more versatile here because we have the two channels we can bounce between the clip in or the clip out. We can go right down to the cleanest. Engage that clip. So lots of different gain levels. Compare that back to the 800. Down to its cleanest. Vintage style. Down to the 74X. So you can hear some real big differences between these amps, and a lot of it, like I said, is going to be in the way that I have dialed them in, mic'd them, the mic choices, the mic positioning, and whatnot. And I basically react to the amp based off of what I'm hearing coming out of it and what I want to get out of it. So there are going to be some differences just in the way I dialed those in, but I also think this shines a little bit of a light into some of the differences between those amps themselves, and they obviously each have their own vibe. All right, there you have it. What did you guys think of that? Did you hear big differences in tone? I think there obviously was. There was 4 different style amps here, a couple each with some similarities between them, but there was definitely a difference in the way those felt and sounded. Now, a lot of this can also be down to how I captured it, although I do use a similar process regardless of the amp. Some of these were through the same cabinet and we could really hear the differences in the amp, but there's so many variables involved. But anyways, I thought that would be a fun look at comparing some Marshall amps in some ToneX collections. These collections are all available at the links below if you're so inclined and want to help support the channel. I think you'll get some great tones there that you can really enjoy. I know I've been enjoying playing through all of these different collections myself since I've made them. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. I'm going to leave you today with a full-blown demo video letting you hear some of these tones used together inside a full mix, and I hope you enjoy that as well. And again, the links are below to any of these tones. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. Please like the video, share it with anybody you think would get some use or enjoyment out of watching it. Also, please subscribe to the channel, hit the little bell notification to get notified when I put new content. I'll be back really soon with some more. Again, enjoy the music on the way out, and ciao for now.